I got laid off at 31 years old, took a 4-year career break, and when I finally went back to work, I was almost broke. Because I joined the social sector, my pay was lowered with a 40% pay cut from my last drawn salary. It was not an easy decision to make, and I'll share more about that in a moment. But somehow, even on that small salary, I managed to save about 60% of my income, which was one of the biggest contributors to helping me rebuild a 6-digit portfolio in just 3 years and 8 months. Now, before you think, wow, she confirmed got rich parents or a big side hustle. Nope. In fact, my dad passed away from cancer without chemo when I was 21 because we did not have enough money for cancer treatment. And during that time, I did not even have a TikTok account. So if you've ever felt like you are behind financially cause life dealt you a weak hand, or you are doing everything that you can but you still feel like you can't get ahead, or if your pay feels like it's not enough, this video might encourage you because I was exactly there, and I want to share my process piece by piece, the messy, the ugly, the difficult, and what I finally decided to do with my finances after I got laid off, and the system that I used to help me save 60% of my salary step by step. So if you're ready, click the like and subscribe button and let's go. So when I got retrenched, I was weirdly scared. But when I asked myself, like, what are you really afraid of? Like, are you going to starve tomorrow or next month? The answer is of course no, because we are in Singapore. I did have savings and investments. So then what was I really afraid of? And if I was really being honest with myself, I realized that what scared me was the fear of falling behind, of not being enough. I'm not sure about you, but growing up, I have been conditioned to look at my friends around me and comparing how we are all doing in our studies. I mean, even the school system puts you in a bell curve. Subsequently, I realized that I carried that same mindset into adulthood. How is my career doing? How is my salary doing amongst my peers? It's a bit like if you score 40 marks, but if the smartest guy in your class scored 50 marks and everyone else scored 40, you will heave a sign of relief because you didn't do as badly as you thought. But now, imagine the smartest guy in the room got 100 marks along with 30% of the class, and you got 40 marks. Now you are really falling behind. And that was exactly how I felt when I got retrenched at 31. I realized that I wasn't really upset about the retrenchment, even though a lot of it was tied to my identity, but I realized I was trying to meet this benchmark amongst my peers. Everyone had a certain career, a certain salary, and I was here, but now I'm like here. I felt like that guy that had a hamstring pull and lost his entire position in the race and had to forfeit his race. And if that wasn't jarring enough, the decision to take a sabbatical was a really difficult one, because during that time, none of my peers have ever taken a sabbatical. Nobody takes their sabbatical in their 30s. People only do that in their 40s. At least that was what I thought, I guess. So no one knew what to expect. People ask me, so what are you going to do? And I'm like, I don't know. But what I did know was that I cannot continue spending money like I did before. Before the layoff, times were good. I got a good, cushy job and I got quite complacent lah. One treat here, one upgrade there. Lifestyle creep happened. So I knew that when I decided to take a sabbatical, the only thing that I can control is to not spend so much. So I started to cut my spending. Not because I was brave, but because I just had to do what I had to do lah. To be really practical, one of the first things that I did was to do a spending audit. So I looked at every single expense that I had and asked myself this one question: can I cut this out, or can I replace this with something cheaper? So things like gym memberships, gone. I did mat and dumbbell workouts at home in my bedroom. Spotify cancelled. I used the free version. Meals with friends, only kopitiam. And surprisingly, when I told my friends that I'm on a sabbatical and I can't spend so much, they were really quite nice about it, and they'll be like, okay, let's meet up in kopitiam. At first, when I cut my spending, I thought it would be tragic. I was like, oh, I would feel absolutely deprived. I thought that my quality of life would go down. But then the opposite happened. There was now so much space and clarity for me. It really showed me what truly mattered and what didn't. My expenses dropped by 40%, and I thought that I would be suffering, but it was truly the best time of my life. A lot of my friends who went through this process subsequently actually attest to this as well. We all said the same thing, like, actually we don't need much to be happy. You almost have to experience it to understand what I mean. In the meantime, the job aspect, during my 4 year of career break, I had a lot of time to reflect. And like I mentioned in my last video, I didn't want to keep working in jobs where I had to chase sales targets or be forced to tell white lies just to hit target and not lose my job. I was in my early 30s and I thought to myself, if I'm going to spend the next 30 years working, it's so meaningless to just chase targets or money. So I joined the social sector to do more meaningful work, but obviously with a 40% pay cut from my last drawn salary, which had sales commissions and bonuses. And now with the limited take-home pay, it was not easy. I needed a robust system to manage my finances even when I'm tired or busy. So this is my system that has helped me save by default, not by willpower or by discipline. I guess you could call it my 5-bucket system until I get a better name for it. The first bucket is my savings fund, where I place my spare cash and keep my bank balance account above the minimum balance requirement to prevent any fall below fee. The second one is my emergency fund. So I try to accumulate about 6 months of my take-home salary so that I can cover my own expenses if I ever become jobless again. The third one is my investment funds, where I set aside funds just for investments. And the fourth one is my travel/hobby fund. And I realized that this fund is actually really important. Some people might feel like, you're on a survival mode and you don't need to have fun. Actually, I feel like if you don't have this fund, you will not enjoy this budgeting process. And the final one is the spending account. That's where I put aside a certain amount that I can spend every month, plus the funds to pay for my credit card bill on time and in full. Well, this system works because of something called mental accounting. It's a concept in behavioral economics where our brain already treats money differently depending on how we label it. Even though mental accounting is usually seen as a bias, like people treat money irrationally, but now we are using it intentionally as a tool. So when we name each bucket like travel fund, emergency fund, we are using that psychology on purpose to help us deal with our money the way that we want it to. Of course, the buckets alone doesn't fix everything. We still need consistency and honesty with how we are spending. The system works like that. I would set up standing instruction to auto split my pay and transfer them into different bank accounts. So maybe I would use GXS for travel fund, DBS or POSB account for savings, brokerage account for investments, etc. Without automation, I would have to manually transfer the funds into different accounts. It's not only time consuming, but I may not have the discipline or willpower to see it through. Subsequently, I developed the 5 buckets into other smaller buckets like giving, beauty fund, etc. Some people might ask, what about earning bank interest if you split all your money? Because not all banks have high interest. You see, during that time and even now, high yield savings account always require you to jump through some hoops like $500 to $1,000 of spending per month to unlock higher interest on your savings. But I was close to broke, so I didn't even want to have the pressure to spend $500 a month. Because this is my second time rebuilding from scratch, I knew that the key was to invest as much as possible. So I didn't set aside a lot of money in my savings. Instead, I put them into my investment account. So most of my funds would be in the money market funds in a brokerage account that I've set aside for investments. Money market funds don't require me to jump through hoops, and I can still earn interest while waiting to invest in the stock market. And if you don't have a brokerage account, you can consider getting one like Longbridge, which is a sponsor of this video, because they have a really attractive sign-up bonus that is better than what you can get with all the high-yield savings account right now. Quick pause. If you've got idle cash just sitting there, here's one way that I've been making it work harder while I wait for the right investment opportunities. I've been trying out Longbridge Cash Plus. It lets me earn interest on idle funds and at the same time explore their platform. No lock-ins, and returns sit around 2.19% per annum right now. Plus, I personally feel that their welcome rewards are pretty solid. When you sign up via my exclusive link below, $18 cash voucher, 6% interest boost coupon, which are exclusive, on top of 6% interest boost coupon on up to $2,000 for 90 days. And that's not all. You will get up to $800 worth of welcome rewards depending on your deposit level. It's simple to qualify, starting from just $2,000. All details are below in the description. Now, if you are also planning to trade stocks or ETFs in US, Singapore or Hong Kong, here's something that I like about their platform. Longbridge is currently Singapore's only brokerage offering 0 fees across all 3 markets. costs, no commissions, no platform fees. And yes, it's MAS regulated. So whether you are growing your cash passively or actively investing, the platform gives you both options. The link's below if you are interested. And thank you Longbridge for sponsoring this video. So after I started earning a salary again, I told myself, hey, don't anyhow spend. Was I always successful? No! But it's okay. We don't have to do this perfectly. If we are even 80% there, it's better than 0%, right? So some months I saved less, some months I saved more. That's okay, because having some grace for ourselves is actually very helpful, because this journey with personal finance is a marathon and it's not a sprint. So take your time, and even if you get 1% better, it's better than where you were before already. So this is exactly how I managed to save and invest 60% of my income. I'm not sure if everybody goes through this existential crisis, but I'm really glad that in my 30s, I realized who I wanted to be in the next 30 years, 40 years, 50 years of my life. And this was what I came to. I don't need a lot to be happy. I don't want to chase money mindlessly. And I want to work for a purpose that is bigger than myself. And I want work that is really meaningful. I know I'm really privileged. I acknowledge that my journey is really different from everybody else, but I just wanted to share this. And if you're watching this and you are currently struggling with a really low salary, try this. Cancel one expense this week that you won't miss. Split your next paycheck into different buckets, or even sign up for a brokerage account, because I really think that it's just about stepping forward to start somewhere. If I can do it, you can do it too. I'm not sure where you are in your journey, but I really hope that this was helpful for you. I mean, if you told the 25-year-old me that at 31 I would be doing push-ups on my bedroom floor and living broke and it would be the best time of my life in my 30s, I would be like, wow, you cursed me, sia. I guess I couldn't choose what happened to me, but I did make the decisions that I felt were most aligned with my values and who I wanted to be, and it is what it is. It's what makes my story pretty crazy when I share it sometimes. Of course, there's a lot of nuance and in-between, and my journey isn't perfect. I'm just here to share what's real, the messy, the human parts as well, but also the systems that I could use to help myself during that time lah. So if this video made you feel a little less alone in your journey, or reminded you that even with a small salary, you can rebuild and thrive, and you now have tools to start doing this practically, then it's worth it for me to share this. And if you missed my last video, I talked about what happened when I got laid off and how I rebuilt a 6-figure portfolio from almost nothing. You can watch that next. If you want to follow my journey along, learn the systems, the reflections, and the real life stories behind it, hit the like and subscribe button and let me know what else you would like to hear next. Till then, I'll see you in the next video.